where we are to the next level. That's what will help us to choose the right person.
Absolutely.
Not abuses.
Absolutely. Archbishop, at the same time, I mean, what should happen to the Linturis of this world? I mean, you know, yes, he apologized. Yes, life has moved on. What should happen to people like that? Because this is not the end of it. Huh?
I think, to me, I said earlier, the first thing that we need to do is to invoke Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which talks on, integrity and ethical leadership. That we can invoke to bar people who have either mismanaged resources or have done something wrong or have become warmongers and hate speech, and say you can't really buy if that is the way you're going to lead. So that there is a caveat in which we can say, beyond this point, we will not allow you to operate. Having said that, I was reading a book recently by a Turkish lady. She's Muslim but raised in America. Her name is Temel Quran. The title of the book is a very interesting one, How to Lose a Country. How to Lose a Country. And she says, it is not easy to lose a country through external aggression. People will always insulate themselves. Yes. It's not easy to lose even a country through a coup d'etat. But she says, you can easily lose a country if the very leaders of that nation begin to introduce a narrative and a language that normalize wrongdoing and normalize evil and idolize it and make it so normal, so that whatever is wrong looks normal. And she says this is to achieve two things, to remove shame and guilt. Now, the problem we have in Kenya is that we are now brought a narrative that is not shameful anymore to abuse somebody or to hate somebody. It doesn't arouse a guilty conscience. So what the lady is saying is that we slowly kill the inner person that is supposed to feel guilty and shameful, so that he or she arrive at the point of repentance, of being remorseful and say sorry, and that's the departure where somebody begin to change. So what we are seeing more and more is a narrative being built, and when it is translated to the youth, now, we get into a valueless society because we shall have no values. There is no guilt, there is no shame in what we are doing. And when we continue to allow this narrative to build on, very soon we shall have no country, because countries are governed by what is acceptable as right versus wrong. And people are encouraged to choose the right over the wrong. And this is where we are now completely destroying the boundaries between wrong and good. And when we destroy those boundaries, then it is okay to do any kind of wrong, because there's no boundary that are defined, and that's the space in which we are entering. And the tongue is the one to be used to create that narrative, to champion the narrative, until everybody sees wrong is normal. There is no shame to it. Bad is good. There is no shame to it. And I think that's the space in which we are going into. We must guard it. And why we have the commandments in the Bible, and why today we are saying we have a higher calling, we have God with us. God gave us the commandments so that we know what is right. Do not covet, do not steal, do not kill, because it leads to anarchy. Do not bear false witnesses. Do not, do what is not acceptable before God's eyes, but also before society's eyes. Until we have that thing that makes us guilty when we do something which is wrong and lead us to a point of remorsefulness, then we have no society.
Absolutely. And Sheikh, I see you're nodding with this, what our Archbishop is saying.
Yes.
You as religious leaders, we look up to you now. Exactly. We're looking up to you. We are hoping that you could, provide some kind of sanity in this situation. What can you do as religious leaders?
I believe there is a lot we can do. Let me begin from this point of view. We are the custodians of the message of God to humanity. The question we need to ask ourselves, did God intend that we live in chaos? The answer is no. Whether Christian, Muslim, whatever religion, whatever true religion that you follow, there is nowhere you can say God intended that we live in a chaotic society. Live in a just society where everybody is peaceful, you get your rights, And that is the intention of God. And we are the custodians of that message. So I want to answer your question very candidly. What can we do as religious leaders? We have that higher calling, and we have no vested interest. That politician will stand up there and say whatever they want to say, and inside their mind, they only have one thing. How can they win the next elections? That's all that matters to them. For us, it's bigger than that. Number one, we are answerable before our Creator, that God has chosen us to be His representatives on earth. We need to translate whatever is in our scriptures, because believe me, there is no scripture of any religion that will tell you to incite one community against another. Okay, let me tell you, Jeff, I'm not a Kenyan by accident. None of us is a Kenyan by accident. Jeff, if you're a Kenyan by accident, please pack and go. I am a Kenyan because God decided I should be in Kenya. And in His wisdom, He decided that it's not for one ethnic community. No one is special. My book tells me that God created us, different tribes and nations, so that we may know one another. And again, is a sign of the might of God. That's why we are different. Then our constitution in the preamble tells us we are proud of our diversity. Ethnic, religious, cultural, and everything. So we live together. Now, we as religious leaders, what do we need to do? To call back people when they go astray. Let the Archbishop and the Reverend here invoke the teachings in the Bible about what, because these people at the end of the day, they will come for blessings to Reverend Oginde. Yeah. They will go to the Archbishop for the blessing. And some of them go even and kneel down and cry. We've seen them crying in public. So we need also to tell them, tomorrow you're coming to me for blessings, but listen. And for the Muslim politicians, you know what I'll tell them? The tongue is a blessing from God. But if you misuse it, it will be a curse. And I'll just share a teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him. He said, do you want paradise? Then guarantee me the use of 2 organs in your body. Jeff, you want to know what they are? Go on. What is between your lips and what is between your legs? And I guarantee you, Jannah, paradise. Today we are not going to talk about what is between your legs. Let's talk about what is between your lips. Cursing, we curse with our tongue. Giving false witness, which you said, actually I thought you're quoting from the Quran. It is the tongue. Backbiting, it is the tongue. Then that is, now it becomes a curse. But when you bless people, just like the Archbishop said, it's a blessing. We are communicating to Kenyans now. Jeff, you are known all over the world because of the use of your tongue, okay? So it is a blessing that we should use. So for me, what we need to do is, in our sermons, whether it is Friday or Saturday or Sunday, it's not enough just to tell people on how to go to paradise. I keep on telling the other chefs, you know, before I go to the other side, I have to live in this world. And I have to live in this world with other people peacefully. So we need also to add in our sermons. Between now and the election, every day, we have to keep on talking to the people. Tell them, before you go to heaven, you have to live in this world, and we have to live peacefully. And invoke our scriptures to these people. Because at the end of the day, they come inside there. There's something, you know, it's like, Jeff, as you're driving and a matatu misbehaves. You know what you'll say? After all, it's a matatu. This is what I expect from matatus. This is where we are with our politicians. After all, he's a politician. What do we expect from the politicians? But now we need to bring reason back and tell them, no, you could be a politician, but you do not have the license to speak the way you want. There is freedom of expression, but every freedom has a limitation. There is no absolute. There is nothing that is absolute. You have the freedom to swing your hands, Jeff, as you're walking, ends where my nose begins. So swing your hands, but don't touch my nose. Make noise, but don't spread propaganda. Talk to the people, look for votes, but don't incite people. So we need to call them back. Let's reason.
Absolutely. Let's reason and let's keep talking, and let's not get tired of spreading that message. Sheikh Ibrahim, thank you so much. So we're going to take a quick break. Reverend Doctor, come back, and I'm going to ask you all, and Archbishop, are we ready for August? Are we ready as a country, as IEBC? Are we ready for August? I'm going to ask you this. And also moving forward, what more can we do? Because like Archbishop said, there's no other Kenya to go to. Huh?
Oh,
there's no
yes.
other Kenya.
No.
Where are we going to go?
Hakuna.
No spare parts for Kenya.
No.
Yes.
This is the kind of conversation we should be having each and every day. We've got to keep talking, because the minute we stop talking is the minute we start fighting, and you do not want to go down that slippery slope. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. We'll be back with these amazing gentlemen and their wise words in a moment. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live. We're having a very, very appropriate discussion today. It's all about reason. It's a time to reason. There's a time for everything, the good book says. A time to reflect, and those who should be listening.
I hope so too.
Because, like you said, all it takes is one word.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
One word
Yeah.
could flip this whole thing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And we're walking on eggshells.
It's true. Very true. You asked Sheikh, what can we do? And I think he made a very good point. I serve as chair. Those MCAs, those members of parliament, and all these aspirants and candidates who are seeking elective positions, all the way to national level. Let's take responsibility over them. If I take responsibility over one or two, another one's the same. We can help them navigate this, because they are desperate for votes. That is true. So some of the things that we are hearing is out of desperation. But it is careless. It can destroy. So this is something that we have committed ourselves to do. So like when this Eldoret thing happened, I made several calls to various political leaders who I felt should do something about this. And I'm glad to say that they listen. And some of the things we talked about, I could see them when they got to their political platforms. They did. Some of the agencies, we are also to be responsible to them, so that we call them to encourage them as they take this charge of this particular situation or that particular situation or this difficult thing, just to call and say, Jeff, I'm with you. We are praying for you. You are doing a good job, or maybe this is what you could do in this situation to save the day. And in this way, we pastor the nation, so that we are not, as pastors and church leaders, are also complaining like everybody. Let's complain when we have to, but let's also act and do something proactively. Not everything needs to be done in the media, because these are ordinary folks like us. And when you reach to them at a personal level, they listen, they hear. And I believe that if we do this consistently all the way to August, we may see a better nation. And so I would want to encourage not just the Evangelical Alliance, but all of us. Sheikh here, I'm sure, knows a few leaders here and there.
Yes.
He can call them. If he hears them, somebody saying, take a phone and call him and say, my brother, that was not wise. You know, what you said there was not wise, or what you did there was not wise. Maybe next time you should do this and that. And you give them guidance. And when they do a good thing, I also do that. When they do a good thing, I also call them and I say, that was a good thing. The way you dealt with that situation, I think that is leadership.
Yeah.
So in that way, I believe that we can help bring this nation together, and we can navigate these waters of elections and get to the other side safely.
Absolutely. Archbishop, are they listening to you when you talk to them? Are they listening?
I cannot be able to gauge, but I think there is a level in which they are. There is a level in which they are.
Sure.
You know, I was misunderstood when I came out to say we don't need politicians to speak in the churches. I foresaw what is now happening in the political rallies, that they are going to use a church space to make hate speech. But the church space, what needs to come out of that space is a gospel message of reconciliation, of healing, of love, of care. And that's why I came out to say we have to protect this space so that there will be no two statements, because that time there were many statements coming from the pulpit. So beside the gospel message, which the media did not actually report,
Interesting.
they only reported what the politicians say, and then it ended up that that church on Sunday, church worship did not happen, is a political statement that came out. And that was what pained me. And I listened to God, and you know, God was angry with all of us because we are not allowing his space, the gospel message, to be the one flowing. It is political messages flowing, which was not right. So whether they are listening or not, but what we can see today, we have protected that space, and they come and they don't demand. And even when they try, we said no. And there is also a statement, and all the churches and the religious fraternity came to support what was said then. We will keep on hammering the message of hope to Kenyans. And my New Year message, and I continue to make it my message as we begin the year, is Kenya is a real nation of real people. And our reality also demonstrates that we are going through real issues. So we are real people going through real issues, but the beauty is we have a real God. And we are calling people to turn to the real God to be the answer and to get answers for their real issues. Because in our humanity, we cannot provide answers to the real issues outside of God. So when people turn to politicians as if they'll be the answer to their real issues, that is not going to be, unless we turn to God. And that's why God invites us to space. He says in 1 Peter, cast all your cares to me because I care. Come to me, Jesus says in Matthew, you who are carrying your heavy loads, and I will give you rest. So we need to point to people where their real issues will be addressed, including the politicians, that the real issues that you are talking about Kenyans have, they have been in leadership for a long time, and those issues have not disappeared. There will be no miracle that they are going to make it disappear in a term, because they are now promising whenever they win this election, in that term, Kenya will look like heaven. Let us not expect that. Because we are in a real world and real issues are affecting us. So let us point people to a real God who is going to address our real issues, and it will be also the real issues of the politicians. So we'll want to ask them, instead of you promising heaven, take people to where God will sort your problem as a political leader and the problems of Kenyans. And when God is in the picture, who deals with the real issues people are going through, then we shall have a better country. We shall have a people of hope. And that is a hope we want to inculcate and tell Kenyans there will be Kenya beyond what the politicians are promising. There will be Kenya beyond an election. And an election is just one of the processes that we go through every 5 years. Let us not make it a do or die thing. But if you see what the politicians are doing today, they want to make this election like a do or die thing. It should not be. It is a competition. If you win, you win. You lose, you lose. Kenya continue, and Kenya will prosper. And Kenya will be managed, whether you are there or you are not there. I normally remind myself and remind the clergy and my bishops that, you know, God has only invited us into what He's already doing Himself. And it is a privilege we are given, not a right. And whether I am there as the Archbishop today, the church will go. Whether I'm there or not there, the church will continue. So there will be no time that as a leader you will think Kenya will not survive if you're not there, or if you're not elected. If we get into that premise and put that as a principle, that this nation will prosper whether you are there or not, then we can approach the election in a sober way. We can approach the election knowing that we can either lose or win. And it doesn't matter who wins. It will be the choice of God who wins and the choice of the people of Kenya. And we can progress from there. So let us not make the election that if I don't, Kenya will be finished. Or you know, the narrative that if this region does not take the presidency, it will be like we are doomed or we are finished. Nobody is going to die. We shall all remain in Kenya after 9th of August.
Absolutely. Well put, Archbishop. Well put. Sheikh, let me ask you this. Archbishop said something very interesting. Could Allah be angry with us? Could God be angry with us?
Yeah, I believe, first of all, I want to believe that God loves this country very much. Look at what we have gone through. terrorism came into this country and threatened to divide us along religious lines. We were able to overcome that. As religious leaders, we came together. When we were doing the Constitution, religious leaders came together and we were able to shepherd that process. I think God loves this country. Even after 2007, 2008, again, the signs of God's love for this country was there. So I believe God is not happy with what we are doing, but God loves this country, and God has given us an opportunity to correct the wrongs. And the bishop has said here, look at the beautiful quotation from the Bible. If you ask me to quote from the Quran about what God says, number one, as a leader, we need to tell people that, remember, that is a trust that you have been given by God. We are over almost 50 million people. Then God appoints you, Jeff, to be our leader. That is a trust. And you will be answerable before God Almighty. He's given you that position to lead your people. You lead them in the wrong direction, you are answerable for that. And you know, me, I keep on, I don't fear talking about death. In Islam, we don't fear talking about death. We remind them and tell them, look here, I don't want to mention leaders who just went suddenly when people did not expect them to go. I tell them, the Muslim political leaders, I tell them, look here, it could be today or tomorrow, and you'll stand before the King of Kings, the judge of all judges, and you'll be answerable for all your deeds. So we need to remind them that this is not your father's property that you have inherited. It is a trust that you have been given by God, a responsibility, and you'll be answerable for your deeds. And we say choices have consequences. You choose to do what is wrong, then you have to bear those consequences. So we need to invoke more and more the religious teachings, because I believe, you see, the example I like giving is this. Today, when you buy a vehicle from Japan, it comes with the user's manual. You follow that manual, then that car will be useful for you. And you can't say, I think I'm bigger in size than the Japanese, I have bigger eyes than them. So instead of putting petrol in the tank, I'll cook strong tea and put in the tank and porridge in the engine instead of oil. It won't work, because the manufacturer did not intend this vehicle to run on uji. It has to run on petrol. So for God is even a better example. God created this world, created me and you, and he gave us the manual. For the Christians, the Bible is the manual. For the Muslims, we have the Quran, that's the manual. For the Jews, they have the Torah, that is the manual. And because this is the manual from the manufacturer himself, the creator himself, you follow it, you'll get it right. Mm-hmm. You go against it, you'll get it wrong. Your Jeep will not move, Jeff, if you do not follow the manufacturer's manual. So who are the custodians of that manual? We are here, we're the custodians. So we need to play our part, remind them of the user's manual, what is in the manual by the creator himself. So for the Muslims, I'll tell them, oh, you who believe, fear Allah and always say what is right. And if you don't do it, you'll be punished for anything you do. And again, there is also a teaching in Islam that says this. If you are the cause of people falling into calamity, you'll be answerable for every person that follows that path and does that which you directed people to do. For example, through your word of mouth, we don't know how many young people who are in Eldoret took it literally, whatever was said by the political leader, and they did not even hear the apology. And even if they had the apology, the damage was already done. Okay? Now, any young person who took those words and decided to look for those who are not wanted them, they take any action, according to the teachings of my religion, you're also answerable. Every drop of blood that will be shed, you'll be answerable for that. Every property that will be destroyed because of your loose use of the tongue, you'll be answerable. So we need to keep on reminding our people. Actually, for us as Muslims, we have decided every Friday sermon from now up to the elections, we all want to mainstream this issue of hate stream. I have a sermon myself on Friday, and it will be on hate speech. And because I know they will come there and they will be listening. And then for me, Jeff, it doesn't matter whether they are listening or not. the thing I'm worried about is, am I doing my part? So I'll talk to them, whether they listen to me or not. Somebody somewhere will listen. And before God, I will have discharged my duty. Then let the DPP also do their part. Let NCIC do their part. And then, Jeff, I know you'll not like this, let the media also do their part. Give them a blackout. When they speak nonsense, why do you want to bring them on our TVs at home? So, Jeff, I'm also pointing an accusing finger at you. I wish I was near that fire extinguisher. I would have blown it at once. Yes, the media, why do you bring it?
Sheikh, very good point. Reverend Doctor, do you agree?
Oh, yes, we have said it before. Because if we give these people blackout,
yes,
then their bad message will not be seen. Yes. I know I raised that with some media people. I said, why do you report these people when they say such things? But they say, you need to know who your leaders are. Which was also a good point, because you see, if we did not know what these people are saying or doing, then we would be assuming these are great people, while out there they are spewing all kind of things. And then when now chaos arises, like you're saying, out of what they said, you are wondering what happened. We were such a peaceful people.
Right.
How did these people suddenly? What you don't know is that this person went out there and put fuel on the fire, and it blew up on us. So it's a balance, choosing what to report and how to report it, so that we are informed as to what kind of people we are dealing with, but at the same time we are not inflaming. You know, like you report accidents. You don't show us the mutilated body of the people who are involved in the accident, but you describe for us that it was a terrible accident. We can see the vehicle. You leave it to the imagination that that must have been terrible, you know. 6 people died and so on. But you can't go there showing us the dead bodies. It will be traumatizing to all of us. Yeah. So the media has that sense of responsibility. Yeah.
It's almost like you're damned if you do, or you're damned if you don't. But Archbishop, at the end of the day, is there hope?
I think there is hope. There is hope. Sheikh Lidome said, God loves his country. We always take ourselves to the brink. Yeah. In his wisdom, he has a way of lifting us up. So there is hope because there is God. And we trust in him that he will still steer us through this and will still come out victorious. But we must work hard to keep that hope alive. By being there to engage, by sounding the warning, playing the role of Ezekiel in the Bible. He was called a watchman who must sound the trumpet when there's danger in a city. And he was warned, if you don't sound and people perish, their blood will be upon your own head. But if you sound and people refuse to listen to you and they perish, their blood will not be upon you. So what we need to do is to continue to be there for Kenyans, to educate Kenyans, to make sure that we prepare well, to make sure that the agencies that are responsible to prepare for this election do their work thoroughly well. IBC to prepare well and to make sure that it is going to be free and fair, to ensure that civic education is happening in the country, and we are normally late as a country, you know, and the international community that normally support civic education normally are also late in identifying hotspots areas. But what we need to do is, whether civic education is there or not, we, media, the churches, and people who are responsible and have platforms like the religious fraternity has a platform every week. We need to use that for civic education. The media needed to use it for civic education so that messages of hope go across the nation, so that the people are not going to live in a state of hopelessness. There must be messages that will be resounded to counteract the voices of the politicians in political rallies that gives Kenya hope, but also give them direction on how to go about life.
Yeah. Sheikh, there was speaking of hope and civic education, a few months ago there was a voter registration. They were expecting at least 4 million voters. They got a quarter of that, if that. There's another one that's going to begin in a few days, I think the 17th. What is it, the apathy? What is it about us that we become so apathetic?
Now, it's simple for me. If you ask me, it's this. People are promised a lot just before elections. Like now, we're hearing a lot of promises. I don't want to go into the specifics. So people have a lot of expectations after elections. So they trust, with my voter's card, I'm going to determine how the country is going to be run for the next 5 years. Then you go and queue there from 5. In Kajiado, I wake up at 5 a.m. before I go to the mosque for my morning prayer. Actually, I perform my morning prayer outside there because I want to go and vote. Expecting now there'll be change. All the big promises that have been promised and the rest, that most of them are lies actually, that you are hearing, because we are real, like Bishop said, we are living in a real world. You know, things, there's no magic. Nobody is coming with magic, no miracles. No Moses is coming here or Jesus to perform miracles. Then, after elections, nothing. So people are disappointed. And that's why many of the young people, we talk to them and tell them, please go and register. I have friends who are watching me now, and I'm sure they're telling me, what are you telling us, to go and vote? What for? There'll be no, whether I vote or not, things will just be the same. And actually, people even feel that even the leaders are not determined by my voter card. Maybe they're determined somewhere else, they're decided somewhere else. And that's why there is that voter apathy. I think people are disappointed. The expectations during this season of campaigns, and I don't know where they go and study this beautiful language, beautiful slogans, and beautiful ideology. You wonder, for all these years that you have been here, we've known you for many years, where was all this beautiful language? All these slogans and economic recovery and the rest. And then you can just imagine now the Kenya we are going to be in, 2023, oh my, Jeff. My. You know? But then, so that disappointment, the expectation is up there. Then after elections, nothing. So why do I vote? I'll not vote. And again, same people, nasema, I'm not calling anybody a monkey, ni mfano tu, ni mazungumzo tu. They say the monkeys in the forest are the same, but the trees are different, but the monkeys are still the same. You know, I'm not calling, it's just a saying. Yeah. So with the same characters that we are seeing, the same promises that have been given, we are wiser now. Whether we vote or not, we are not going to see any changes. So why should I vote? I'll sleep on that day. That's why most of the people. That's my view.
Actually, on the voter thing, we have some work to do. 3 of my children have now matured to vote, to have registration cards. Recently, I was telling them in the last year's registration, you have to go and register as voters. And you know, they told me, will our votes count? I said, why not? They said, we have not seen them. And these are just children graduating to get into that age bracket. We have not seen vote counts. I said, where did you get that idea? They said, you know, it has always been what Kenyans are talking about, whether their votes counted or they did not count. So we are not going to get to vote. So I had to convince them, you must take your responsibility, whether your vote is going to count or not. Get your voter card, go and vote. Leave the rest to whatever decision will be made after you. Yeah. You have done your role. And I had to convince them, and they went and they got their voters' cards. So we have to educate Kenyans that whether they feel their votes count or not, let us take our responsibility and leave the rest to decision and processes that will happen thereafter. And that's what we are challenging IEBC to make sure that every vote counts and every voter, when they make their decision, let it be part of what is going to bring the outcome of an election. Yeah,
well said. These were your own children.
Yes.
Reverend Doctor, is there hope?
Oh yes, there's a lot of hope. Actually, Jeff, just about 3 or so weeks ago, I was very happy with the way the political space was going. If you look at the key players, the deputy president, the former prime minister, the president, to me those are the 3 people who hold the future of this nation, and as far as this coming election is concerned. And I noticed that each of these 3 people in their campaign trails, you did not hear negativity. They, of course, use the political language to call one another, you know, like Ruto is fond of, huyu mzee wa vitendawili and so on. And Raila the same. To me, those are not big issues. That is part of the political thing. And as I monitored for a few weeks, I thought, I think we are getting somewhere. Until this thing of Eldoret came up. Then it's like, it was adjourned. But the speed with which that was handled, in my view, even if it doesn't result in anything, it showed that we are not going to tolerate this. Mm-hmm. The response of the Kenyans on media, on social media, which is almost like a thermometer that you can use, was equally very exciting, in that nobody was saying that he has said the right thing, is doing the right thing. People were out on him and saying this is not the way Kenya should go. So when I see those kinds of things, I think there's hope. There's a sense in which at a sober level, we can actually get to a place where we deal with our issues soberly. There's a few rotten eggs and rotten potatoes and rotten tomatoes that are still left, because I have since received even video clips that have been made out of these incidences that fuel the fire further, you know. You may have come across them. So I'm thinking to myself, and some of these videos are done so professionally. I'm thinking to myself, who is this? Who is using very professional people to create such wicked, you know, destructive, inciting kind of video clips? These are people we need to identify and uproot them from our midst. As we said, it is still early in the day. So if we have the police do their work, the NCIC do their work, and the rest of us as citizens do our work, we have a lot of hope. This could be one of our best elections, in my view. Especially if the top leaders play their role. The president, as an outgoing president, plays his role in steering us in the right direction. Raila is an older statesman. If he does his campaign in a manner that shows that there's dignity and respect that can be brought into the political space, Ruto, as the deputy president of this country, if he can play his politics in a clean and a fair way, and he has openly declared that he's a Christian, if he can show that Christianity on the campaign trail, I think we have hope. Because these are the three people who can take us south or take us north.
Archbishop, could what have happened in Eldoret, could it be, for lack of a better phrase, a blessing in disguise?
Yeah, I think, to me, somebody mentioned earlier that, you know, sometimes it's better for things to come out so that we deal with them when they are out, other than when we are dealing with a lot of internal anger. Because what we have seen just before Eldoret, and even after Eldoret, and this is what I want to advise our political class, is, you know, the body language, even if you're using the right terminologies, but in anger, and demonstrating you are angry, and you know you are angry at somebody. That anger, that expression, you know, anger has a way of infecting emotions, like laughter. You know, somebody laugh among us and we all laugh. Somebody get angry among us and you know you make somebody else angry. So let us not only talk about the spoken word, but let us also talk about the expression and the facial expression and the body language in which we display, so that we don't begin to hype emotions by being angry, because you are going to create more anger in other people. So I think what has come out of Eldoret, and could be now what has happened in this week, will turn to be a blessing, because people will have known it earlier, and we are now beginning to deal it right away from the elections, so that we are not experiencing something just about election, so that Kenya will have an experience of getting a way of doing something slightly more better. And we have an opportunity of preaching a message of hope, a message of peace, and giving direction and giving, we should not have been here if those happenings have not happened the way they have happened. We will not be having this conversation. But because that happened, now we have opened up conversation. And I think to me, it is good it has happened, so that one, we know, the inner person, because it has come out. You remember when Jesus was accused by the Pharisees that his disciples ate with unwashed hands, because that was a big thing. Jesus said, don't worry about what we put in our mouth and get into the system. It doesn't defile the body. But what defiles is what comes out of the mouth. He says what goes in will just be flushed out. But what comes out is what is going to defile us, because it is bringing out the inner anger. It is bringing out the premeditation. And when those languages of premeditation begin to come out, now we have a better way of understanding it and dealing with it. So to me, I think it's good it happened this early in the year, so that conversation begins where we can now put things back into normalcy and put it in the right track. Yeah,
it's a good thing, Archbishop, but Sheikh,
yes,
when you think of Kenyans, yes, and someone once mentioned, maybe not all of us, some of us have what they call a warthog mentality. Like a warthog, when it sees a lion, it starts running.
Yes.
30 seconds later, it stops.
Yeah,
it forgets why it's running.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
That's the mentality.
Actually, yes. We forget very easily. And I remember there was a building called Sunbeam somewhere in Nairobi. It collapsed one day. And a week after that, everybody was, anytime you're walking under the canopy, a canopy of any building, you'd be looking up. After that, people forgot. Actually, very few people remember there was the Sunbeam accident. We forget very easily. Now, the question that you posed to Archbishop here, can we say that it is good that it happened? I say yes, every cloud has a silver lining. So for me, the silver lining is what we are doing now. I can tell you for sure, I have a sermon on Friday. I had not planned to talk about hate speech, but after this happened, I've already told the mosque committee we're going to talk about hate speech. We had a radio program today. We talked about hate speech. It can only be something good has come out of it if we learn, we'll take a lesson from that and quickly take actions to correct it. Okay? So we say it's good, it has happened. Yes, but is that enough that it has happened? No. What have we learned from it? What measures have we taken to make sure it does not happen, does not continue? And that's why there is a question you pursued, then you stopped. Say, what should happen to the Linturis of this world? Because there are many. This is only one of them. For me, is let the law take its course. Let them be a lesson to the others. Because every Kenyan is watching now what is going to happen. And because of the past experience, as a lawyer, I can tell you he has the right to be given a bond and be out there. But what next? People are watching. Okay? So that is what should happen to the Linturis of this world. Let them be a lesson to the others. Okay? Then let each one of us play their part as best as possible. Religious leaders, play your part. NCIC, play your part. And for me now, those who have been saying that this is a toothless dog, let them see that this dog can bite and it can move fast. And this time around, for some reason, it really backed and moved very fast and grabbed. Let them continue that way. Because the law is very clear and their mandate and their powers are very clear. Let the DPP, let the police do their part. Let each one play their part. Finally, Jeff, we were discussing without you knowing here, quietly here, with the Archbishop as you are sitting there, as you are discussing about our Narok homeland. We also discussed about why some of these people forget themselves when they're up there. And we agreed and said, maybe Reverend, you'll agree with us, sometimes they want to please the big man sitting behind there, okay? they want to please them. So for every political outfit in this country, there is a father somewhere. I will not say a godfather. There is a father figure there, and every person wants to please the father. So we want to talk to these leaders. And Reverend mentioned them very courageously, even mentioned the big guys in this country. You know? And you're right, Reverend. I agree with you. Even in 2007, we had problems. Jeff, we didn't have to bring all the Kenyans to shake their hands. 2 people, supervised by Kikwete, shook hands, and so it was done. Yeah. So we need to identify the key people here. So for every political outfit, say, you are the leader of this political outfit. Can you handle your people? Can you control your people? Can you control them? Tell them, usiniharibie kura. Because I want to believe sometimes, there's a time I would read in the papers, when so-and-so opens his mouth or her mouth, it costs that political outfit votes. So Jeff, we need to bring them here. And I would love you to bring them here. I would like to see them in this. You know, can you control your... Yeah, Bishop, that's what you are saying. No?
Right now they need votes.
They need these cameras. Walete hapa, Jeff. Can you please handle your people?
Yes.
Handle your people, please. Waambie wakisimama huko wasikuharibie kura kwa sababu wanakuharibia kura. You saw in the papers, wanasema so and so is now feeling the heat from the Eldoret utterances. Right. So let them handle their people. Handle your people around you because they want to please you so that tomorrow when you are dishing out the cake, so and so is the guy who made atapata kubwa zaidi. Mbie please, utapata kidogo ama utapata kabisa. You will sleep hungry. It's just like a father and the children. Contain your children. I'm a civil Bishop. Can you contain your children? Yeah.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, this conversation is so important and it's so appropriate. And I really, really appreciate it. Let's see what the people out there are saying. Let's go to the magic wall and read some of these tweets, some of the reaction. Rianga Boarango says, ask the clergy if, in their opinion, they feel that the current campaign rhetoric and language has them worried. Do they think we're on track for peaceful, transparent, fair, credible, and verifiable elections? We've talked about that mostly, but Archbishop, in a word, you think are we on course?
Yeah, with the language as the person put there, we are on course. We don't want to hear that language in the political rallies of hate speech. We want to hear them give Kenyans hope. We want to hear a clear vision and a clear focus. And we want to hear people who are asking for votes because, people have something they can trust with. Yes, so I think in terms of what is happening, we are not on track, but we want to get on track. We want a better language.
Yeah. Reverend Doctor, do you agree? Can we get back on track?
I think so. I think we have said it here that if we deal with these incidences in the right way, and we continue to encourage and challenge our political leaders to do the right thing, I think we are on track.
Yeah. Farija Lakunda says, what is the position of the religious leaders in our politics today, especially in the presidential race? What do you mean by that?
I don't know.
What is the position? Oh, let's go. Next, Mumo Rang said, ask the gentleman what should be done about rogue clergymen who entertain politicians in the pulpit just because they make huge donations. Archbishop.
We have been fighting this, actually. I began not by telling them not to come to the church, but by saying we are no longer going to announce whatever you bring to the church. Bring it quietly, whatever you want to bring, but we are not going to make it a publicity and make it reason why you should have to come and speak in the churches. So I think what we need to do is let church be church. Church receive her donation through tithe, through offerings, through sadaka, the normal way. Nobody has to announce what they are bringing into the church, into that space. So if we go back and do it the godly way, the way the church has always done before, we have no problem. But we have problem with people who want to sell the church and the church space just because of that donation. Maybe a car is bought or something else has happened. Yeah. Yes. So we need actually to put things in perspective. that whatever, and you know, we have not barred anybody from coming to church. A church is a place for worship for everyone. Everyone is welcomed. And even giving in the church is not determined how much one is going to give. But the moment we make it like a publicity platform, and I want to make the highest donation so that I'm given opportunity to make the church a place where I can now misuse or use it for my political expedition, then that should not happen.
Absolutely. Sheikh Ibrahim, you agree? Or same thing?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree that the pulpit, the religious space should not be used for political interest. Nobody should be given mileage by using those political forums. And again, when it comes now to donations, Jeff, people need to be reminded that when you're giving a donation, you're not giving it because you are seeking popularity. And that's why I want to agree with you. One of the teachings of Islam, and we shared last time here, is that the best donation that you give, the best charity, is charity that you give with your right hand in such a way that the left hand does not know what you have given. Who are you giving? To God. Do you need to shout at the top of the roofs for God to know that you have given this for him? No. So do it quietly if you have to do it, and you'll get your rewards from God. Don't use a religious space for you to gain political mileage, and we should stop them. I know in every class of people in this country, we have rogue people. Yeah. We have rogue media people. Jeff, you agree with me?
Absolutely, 100%.
So we have also rogue clergymen, but we should contain them. And these are few. The majority, actually, are those who are doing the right thing. So we should control them. We should tell them to stop their ways. We should not allow them to use this religious space for political interest.
Yeah, Reverend Doctor, you're the one who said there's just a few rotten apples, a few rotten eggs, a few rotten tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
A few.
Yes.
Yes.
Not many.
But the smell they produce.
But they can have a lot of influence.
Yeah, actually, they have a lot of influence.
Reverend Doctor said the smell they produce. Ian Kiptanui is saying, in theology, a religious leader is a person who is recognized within a particular religion as having authority within that body. What is preventing most of our church leaders today to exercise this authority by warning politicians? Have we also failed as citizens? Reverend Doctor, you were saying earlier on, you call these people yourself.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be advertised or put out in the media. You call them personally, whether they do good or wrong.
Yes, we do. We do, not just me, but it's a way of pastoring. If you are a member of my congregation, Jeff, and I hear something that is unbecoming or untoward about you, I will call you. And I say, Jeff, what is this I'm hearing? Come over and let's reason, Yeah. let's talk, so that I get to hear what it is all about. If you do something good that is outstanding, I will also call you and say, Jeff, that was good. You really represented God in that situation. So I do this with the leaders, so that they know that I'm not just there when they do wrong, but I'm also with them when they do good. But hopefully, when they are on that platform or when they are going out there, hopefully they remember that somebody might call me,
Yeah.
Just hopefully.
Archbishop, I guess what Kiptanui is trying to say is maybe he feels let down by the church. Maybe that's how he feels.
Yeah, we have always had this conversation in Kenya that, the religious leaders have not played their part or they are not doing as much, which I agree partially that, we have not been as intensive as we should be, but the nation has not been without a voice. We have always raised our voices. Some quietly, as Bishop Oginde says, we have visited top leaders of this country. Yeah. We had a conversation one-on-one. We don't publicize. We do individually, and because of confidentiality, we cannot mention that I was with so-and-so and this is what we discussed. But we have also been out in the media and in the press sounding the alarm and saying the warnings and showing people that if we walk that route, we are doomed. So this nation have not completely lacked a prophet. the message of prophecy has always been coming out. The problem is the loud of the voices. And you know, if you look at this country, who occupy public space in a bigger way? You can see in a political heat and temperature like today, it is a political class that occupy the largest of the public space because they are out in those rallies on a daily basis as if there is nothing else is going on. It's only that. So it is a degree on which, and also who is more reported. Is it what I preach on Sunday in the cathedral? That is not captured every day in the news, but every political rally or meeting, be it a boardroom meeting or a public rally, is always reported. But there has always been summons in every church in this country. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to ask ourselves, how have we balanced what goes to the public and who controls what goes to the public? Because it is all our responsibility to make sure that our messages go to the public and everybody knows and understands. Yeah. So it is not like we have not had a prophet or prophecy in this country. The degree is who else is noisy. We are reminded many a times of, you know, the 80s during the clamor for the multi-party democracy and the voices of the like of Gitari, of Muge, of Manasseh Skuri, of Timothy Njoya. You know, that time, there was no other space because there was no multi-party. There was, you know, there was shrinking of that space. The civil society was completely gagged. And the only available opportunity was the pulpit. So all your cameras and the media cameras were turned to the churches. So that's why the message was coming from. But today, because the space is wide, nobody's capturing what is coming from the pulpit.
Yeah. We should do more of this, by the way.
Yes.
We should.
Yes.
I'll give you the space.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
That would be great.
Patrick K. Lumumba is asking, what hope for reform do we have in peace and unity and reason among Kenyans when our politics is highly partisan and defined by tribalism? Sheikh?
Yeah, Professor PLO, you're very right. I think this is something that we should be very concerned about. But one thing, Jeff, we have to accept. It is in God's wisdom. God, in his wisdom, decided that we do not belong to the same tribe, to the same ethnicity, okay? So there is nothing wrong with me priding myself of being a Maasai, you a Kikuyu, and the other priding themselves or whoever they are. The problem that we have here is when you use your ethnicity to look down upon others. Again, you know, politics and resources go together. And that's why there is a lot of bitterness. And also, without mentioning names, when some politicians talk about it is our time to do this and that, our time to eat, our time for this and that, the interpretation out there is it's our times now to control the resources of this country. Mm-hmm. And that's why even when somebody does something wrong, ni mtu wetu anandamwa. You've heard that. Mm-hmm. Even now, what we are talking about, some people somewhere will not see the wrong that that person has done kwa sababu ni wetu. When it is done by somebody else, then it is wrong. But when it is done by the person that I believe belongs to me, unasema ni damu, kwa Kiswahili tunasema damu nzito kuliko maji. Unaona, blood is thicker than water. So I think we need to move away from that. Jeff, if I was to listen to your ringtone, I might even tell you maybe the political party you belong to. The FM radio that you tune to, I'll tell you what political party you belong to. You give me your second name, and I'll tell you what political party you belong to. This is the problem we have here. And sometimes we end up getting the wrong people in leadership, not because they are qualified to be in leaders, just because they come from where I come from. We speak the same mother tongue and the rest. So I want to agree with Professor PLO here that this is something that we need to deal with. And it has a lot also even with the dead speech.
It might not be Professor himself. It might be some,
sorry.
whoever Lumumba is.
Oh,
it's
a K. Sorry, not L. I want to apologize to PLO Lumumba. Sorry, it's another Lumumba.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we need to deal with this also. Nothing wrong with belonging to whatever ethnicity you belong to. You didn't apply. I didn't apply myself. I found myself there. But I should not use that now to discriminate others, look down upon others. We should use it positively, okay? And you see, on paper, we are talking about political parties that have a national outlook. But do you know, to a large extent, Jeff, it has remained tribal. They are tribal. Yeah. Today, if you belong to a party that waves their hands like, I'll tell you where you come from. Yes. If you wear a certain color, I'll tell you where you belong to. Yeah. You tell me a certain political party, I'll tell you where you belong. I think we have not been able to overcome that. And again, the sharing of resources, because politics, sharing of resources, ethnicity, they go together. We need to come over. 50 years after independence, or 50 years plus, I think we're not doing very well when it comes to tribalism. And part of the problem with even hate speech is about tribalism. Just listen. Just go back to Eldoret. Sisi tumetoka huko kama tunaunga mkono. Nyinyi watu hapa ndio mnafaa zaidi. You know, it's tribal. You can see there is tribal in it. That we who do not belong here are supporting this. So anybody here should support this. It's tribe. It's marks of tribalism. So we need to deal with that, and from a religious point of view. And for me, I have verses in the Quran that tells me it is God who created people, different tribes and nations, but the best among is you. It's not the Luo, the Maasai, the Kikuyu. No, the most God-fearing is the best. So this is the kind of language we need to use. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well put, Sheikh. Well put. Kimani Wangoge is saying, we citizens are the problem. Politicians say mindless statements to court attention. We fail by giving them attention. If we stop, they will be hurt, they'll doubt themselves and fall off the political radar. Reverend Doctor, that's exactly what you said. You give them a blackout, they disappear.
Or disagree with them on site.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Actually, we can give
say the wrong thing, say no.
Yes. And call him out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Say no at the rally and say, no, we are not going to accept that.
Yeah, yes.
Actually, we can cite a good example.
Go on.
When we say they will not speak in the in our functions.
Yes.
I've done 5 consecrations after that. And you know, they did not come.
But were they covered by the media, those consecrations?
Yeah.
Were they covered as much as they would be covered when a politician is there?
They were not covered.
Yeah.
They were not covered because they did not come, because you are covered when they come. So the good thing, is, you know, when you give them blackout and you don't give them, you know, attention, they will not disturb you. And I think they will not be disturbing Kenyans. But I think I want to go back to the tribal thing and partisan. We have made our tribal thing our social capital.
Yeah.
So that we think, you know, from the tribe I come from, that is where my safety nets are.
Yeah.
And that I make my tribe my social capital. And unless we undo that as a society, as a nation, in the way we access resources and distribute resources, so that it's never skewed according to where the leader is coming from. So that the development agenda of this country should not follow the pattern of whoever has been the leaders of this country. Because other Kenyans are watching. They will watch whether it is in your backyard that good roads are being made, it is in the other person's backyard that, you know, bigger hospitals are being made or good schools are being constructed. But, you know, because when you do that, we make like, you know, my tribe have a premium, and it gives us our social capital. Yeah. But if we do it across board and make Kenya, not tribe, our social capital, so that the safety nets of Kenyans is based and premised on the economy that is going to benefit everybody equally, we shall have a better country.
Is that going to happen in our lifetime, Reverend Doctor? Is that, or is it going to take another 60 years? I mean, we're almost 60.
By the way, it can happen.
Yes.
It can happen.
In our lifetime?
It doesn't have to take 60 years. Look at how long did it take Tanzania for Nyerere to turn Tanzania into one nation? It didn't take 60 years. It was a few years. Yeah. Painful, but it worked. So that Tanzanians go to the place where they saw themselves as Tanzanians. They speak one language, they are ndugu na dada. It worked. Rwanda, right now, we have talked about it, having learned their lessons, which is our biggest mistake, is that we have not learned from our past mistakes. Rwanda learned their lesson out of what happened in 1994. And from there, they decided we want to build a country. They have built a country that Kenyans go to see. 1994, Rwanda did not exist. I mean, it was finished completely. They have overtaken us while we were still going on. So it means that if we are serious and if we get leaders who are committed, this country has people that love this country. I refer again to 2002, 2003. When we had a leadership coming into the political space and government that seemed to promise that they can turn things around, Kenyans rallied behind them. The matatu that we talked about here earlier, when we were told that this culture can be changed, we participated in that change, and it happened. So these things that can happen in our lifetime. Yes, Jeff, in your lifetime.
Jeff, God does not change a people until the people change themselves. So God will not change a people, and I'm quoting now this from the Quran, until the people themselves show that they want that change. It's not just like tie your camel and then trust in God, okay? So do we want that change for the better? The answer is yes. Is there something, does God want that change? The answer is yes. Will it happen miraculously? No. We must do something and then leave the rest to God. Moses, leading the children of Israel, he came to a point when the sea is in front of him, the enemy is behind him, there is no bridge, no ferry, no plane, and he trusted in God. I trust in my Lord, I will cross this sea, I'll be saved. But at that moment, he had no idea. But then God told him, do something small, I'll do the rest. Take your stick, hit the sea, it will split. Scientifically, that is impossible. Correct. It's a miracle. But you have to do something. So, Jeff, we must do what it is that we must do, whatever is humanly possible. And believe me, in our lifetime, inshallah, we will see that change. I never thought in my lifetime I will see an Nairobi Expressway. It is there today. God has given us that, but we have to do something about it. Jeff, we have to do something about
Inshallah, as you say. Inshallah. Archbishop, I'm going to give you the last word here. I'd love to continue this conversation, but I'll give you the last word. Go on.
What I want to call Kenyans upon at this point in time is that August will come and we shall vote. But Kenya will remain after the 9th of August. Let us keep this country safe. We have no spare parts for this nation. There is no way we are going to go. Let us keep it safe for ourselves. When we are looking for the next dispensation of leadership, let us approach it soberly. Let us not be emotional about it. Let us be convinced by whatever method that convinces you. Go to the ballot, do your part, leave the rest to God, and God will give us a leader.
Archbishop Jackson Olisapit, thanks so much for your wise words. Sheikh Ibrahim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Letome, Aswani, Nashkuru sana.
Santi.
Reverend Doctor, it looks like you want to say something to close.
No, I'm good.
Reverend Dr. David
I can't talk after my senior.
Gentlemen, thank you for this conversation. It's very important, and let's keep it going.
Thank you.
Like you say, there could be a blessing in disguise or silver lining in the clouds. You never know. We just hope we can learn from this and become a better nation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I hope you learned a lesson too from today's show. Moving forward, folks, there's no other Kenya. Take it from me. And in 1994, there was no Rwanda. Do you want to get to that stage? Look over the edge of the cliff to see what's down there? It's up to you. It's up to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Keep tweeting at Koinanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLIVE. Good night. Good luck. God bless Kenya. Thank you, gentlemen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff. Thank you for the opportunity. We hope you'll give us